Welcome back, everyone. Have you had an interesting week? I know I have. This is the Science of Getting Rich mini series where we dive deep into the book of The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles and extract the lessons from the book. I'm releasing a video every Friday for the next 7 weeks. So if you want to know when the lesson drops, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. All right, so let's get into it. Last week, we set up the mindset and the commitment to the program for the next 8 weeks. And I wanted to impress upon you that you could look at this like a game or an experiment where you are putting yourself under the microscope to see how you respond to certain situations. So we set up the goals and the container because it provides the context for us to play the game. So you can imagine if you're on a tennis court, for instance, there is a court, there are lines and boundaries, there are things that you have to do to win that game, and there are things that you do that will essentially lead you to losing that game. So because the court itself is the context, we know how to play the game. And that's the mindset I want you to bring to this mini series. As you're setting these goals, you are starting to then look at what are the parameters of this game? How do you set it up so that you win? And what are the things that you're going to do or that you might fall into the habit of doing that just lead to you not succeeding in your goal? So, how did you go? Were you able to set something up? Look, once you set up a goal, it can be really easy to have that goal be in your mind every single day. And that's what we're working towards here. But the reality is that when you get into the habit of goal setting, and this is something you're starting to want to cultivate for yourself, it can be really easy to forget what goal you set if you don't have a system or a process set up to keep reminding you about what your goal is. So it might be that you just write that goal somewhere in a journal and you're looking at that goal every single day. And every single day you're thinking about how are you going to work towards the achievement of that goal and taking some small action every day. I know that in the coaching world, when I talk to clients about setting goals, sometimes setting a goal can be a really daunting and anxiety producing exercise for people. Because sometimes, you might set a goal and you don't even in yourself, really within yourself, believe that you can achieve that goal. And other times you want a goal, you want to set this goal, but you have no proof of ever having achieved anything like that before. And you don't know how you're going to get that goal. You just want that goal. So today I want to emphasize to you, um, and I want to let you off the hook a little bit. So listen to me carefully now and listen responsibly. That I want to emphasize that whether you achieve the goal or not, is not the focus. All right. So it's not the focus for this next 8 weeks or 7 weeks that we've got. What I want you to think about is as you focus on the goal, I want you to focus on what are the actions that you need to take to consistently get you towards that goal. So, for instance, if I set a goal I use this goal often, but like if I set a goal to lose weight, for instance, yes, my goal is to lose weight, but my focus is what am I doing every day towards that goal? So, am I going for a walk? Am I going to the gym? Am I drinking my 3 liters of water? Am I eating well? Am I eating enough protein? These are the little things that I can be doing every day that's going to help me achieve my goal. So that's what I want you to be thinking about. So, all we're doing here is cultivating this habit of this goal that we're continuously thinking about all day long, every day, towards actually then achieving it and making it sure. You want to make sure also that this goal is something that you really want. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. Okay, so that's where we are at. So we're going to set a goal. We're going to make sure that we're consistently working towards it, that it's consistently in our mind, and that we're consistently taking action. All right, so we're going to let ourselves off the hook as to whether we achieve the goal or not, but put ourselves fully on the hook in terms of taking the actions. You know, last week I talked to you about these two aspects of selves, and this week has been a really interesting week for me personally because these two aspects of selves, you know, the blue self, if you like, on this screen is the part of you that wants the best for you, wants you to live your best life. And then there's this red aspect of self, or the red brain, which really lives in conjuring up fear, doubt, worry, confusion inside of you. Now, when you're not setting goals, here's what's interesting is that these two aspects of selves are always working, right? They're always working for you and against you in various situations, but they're largely undercover and invisible to you. I mean, you get awareness of them from time to time, but when you set a goal, it sets a whole new different parameter because now you've got that court that you're playing the game on. And your goal and every interaction you have towards your goal starts to come under the microscope. So these two aspects of yourself become much more visible or tangible for you. So it might be something that you're feeling. And I asked you to stay vigilant throughout the week to start to pay attention of when these two aspects of self get activated, or start to, even better, when they start to fight. Now, one of the things that is very interesting for me is that when you set a goal, very likely all of the obstacles that you hadn't anticipated coming up do come up. And certainly that's what happened for me this week. So let me share with you a little bit about what happened. So when you set these goals and these two aspects of self are in conflict, some of the things that you can start to look at as red flags for that there's something wrong that helps you be that little bit more vigilant is that you start to check in and see, is there a difference in how you feel? Is there a difference in how you're showing up in the world? Like, are there actions that you're taking that maybe you shouldn't be taking? Are there actions that you're not taking that maybe you should be taking? Maybe it shows up in your conversations to yourself, so the words that you're saying to yourself, or in the words that you're saying to other people. And one of the other ways that I want to add to this is that sometimes it'll show up in a sudden shift in your mood. So you were going along all right, and then suddenly you've had this shift in mood and you're just terrible to be around. Okay, so this is just one example. But all right, so this week for me, I had set a goal and I started to think about, like, what action did I need to take to get this goal and to make things happen, right? And I got this unexpected message from my landlord saying that he was going to raise the rent. Now, I've lived in this place for almost 3 years, and every year they raise the rent. And so it's par for the course. I know that that's going to happen, but they wanted to raise the rent a really significant amount. And it's the kind of thing that hit me for a six because I really wasn't prepared for it. So, what happened? I suddenly found myself in this place where I was just super stressed out. And I was looking for a backup plan to my backup plan. And it made me really anxious. So, this part of me that is fear, doubt, worry, confusion, that part of me, that voice just got super loud. And this quiet part of me, that the part of me that I believe is wanting the best for me, wanting to live my best life, and is my gateway to what Wattles calls the formless substance, or to God, or to the universe, whatever you want to describe it as. That part of me just went super quiet. So as the anxiety and the fear and all of that rubbish takes over, that quiet part of me just went quiet. It just went silent. And I got to see, while this was happening, like it took a little bit of time, I'll be honest with you, to calm my nervous system down enough for me to then think through this situation. And so it was like the brain just went immediately into survival mode, and I had to sit with this overwhelm and then just remind myself there is this infinite supply. And one of the reasons why I want to tell you this is because until this becomes a habit for you in terms of keeping your mind, I want to say like having a one track mind on success, on being able to have what you need when you need it. So that trust factor and that faith factor, until this becomes a habit for you, you are going to face situations that just snap you back, like the automatic pilot is just going to snap you back into how you normally and usually handle situations. So the more vigilant that you can become of this push pull kind of mechanism that happens in your brain, the more you can start to take control of it. And you can take control of it. You can take control of it by starting to hear what is the conversation that is happening, and how are you going to start to alter that conversation from the default and the stuff that just happens automatically to making sure that you are consciously putting good stuff into your brain. So here's the thing, is that when you do this work, particularly in the personal development space, there is a lot of people who want to measure success by money. And definitely we should. Money is definitely a measure of success. It really is. And I have to say that it's not the only measure of success. Okay. Because there are a lot of people out there who have a lot of wealth, but don't necessarily have this ability to control their emotions and to control their mindset and to regulate, what's happening inside of them internally. And, each to their own. But I wanted to share a little story with you because whilst money is a very important factor, it's right up there with air, they say, it is just one measure. And so here's a story I'd like to share with you. When I was 7, I watched this episode of 60 Minutes with my parents, and there was this episode where they were interviewing this woman, and she had suffered third-degree burns to her entire body, and she was severely disfigured as a result of those burns. And during the episode, they actually flipped to a photo of her before the fire. And she was beautiful. She had long flowing hair, she had a beautiful face. And the contrast between how she looked before and how she looked after the burns really sat with me as a 7-year-old, which kind of blows my mind, I have to tell you. But I got to see that life can change in an instant. And even though I was only 7, I had people in my life telling me already just how beautiful I was. And watching that episode, believe it or not, I suddenly got present to that if beauty was the only measure of my success as a human being, and if I built my whole life, my whole foundation for my existence on that I was beautiful, and then that beauty was somehow taken away from me, like it was taken away from this woman, then what else or who else would I be? Folks, that's a really big realization to make at 7. And it has shaped me fundamentally in terms of who I am, how I measure success, and what I aspire for in my life. So while I'm out to create these new realities for myself and to challenge myself and to really get myself out of my comfort zone and see what is Jenny Mutu really capable of in her life, I'm also acutely aware that my success is focused on how quickly I can move beyond my current mindset to elevate and expand my understanding of life and living so that I can create these new experiences for myself. And it's interesting that having this focus makes me rely 100% on my ability to alter my internal environment at will. So, what that means is I'm not relying on anything in my external world to change for me to feel better. And I've developed this capability to move from despair to delight. And I understand that I can do that for myself by myself. And the more that I've done that, the faster that transition has happened. So that when I get notices like what the landlord put forward to me, I don't go into meltdown. I don't lose my shit. I think through it and I'm able to keep myself in a equilibrium in my emotions. Yes, there's a bit of up and down for sure. But, when I look out at other people and I see how much their world can crumble with news like something like that, um, I feel like I'm successful doing this, like I can moderate my emotions and that's what I would want for you is that you have this ability to be super creative, super intuitive and innovative in terms of how you manage your mindset to approach the problems and to think through some like creative things that you want to experience in your life. So that's why I wanted to share this with you. So whilst I'm all for having all of the money that I could never spend in one lifetime at my disposal, I'm also really for having the skills and the capability in my own mindset to be creative, to be intuitive, to be innovative, and to enjoy the experience of being me, no matter how much money is in the bank, no matter how I look, no matter what's going on in my life. And so I offer that for you because it may resonate with you and it may not. And either way is just fine. But I just wanted to share that with you. Now, it kind of leads very nicely into Wattles and what he talks about in terms of chapters 1 and 2 of the book. And so I want you to know that it's important to master your mindset in this process. And Wattles talks a lot about that throughout the book and particularly in the setup in chapters 1 and 2. It, as I said, it won't mean that you won't have wobbles. It just means that you get yourself back on track faster without skipping a beat or losing years of your life, in order to do that. So let's look at chapter 1 and let's see what does Wattles actually really go on about here. And the first thing he does is he talks about this proposition of being rich. And he's asking the reader, look, do you really want to be rich? Because sometimes there are people out there that's not their main objective in life. They don't want to be rich. You know, I realized along the way in my own journey, there was this particular moment where I suddenly dawned on me that if I was rich, all this struggle that comes with not being rich would be over. And in some weird way, my brain sort of associated that with, well, geez, then I would be bored. And then what would I do with my life? Like the challenge would be done. And even though that sounds crazy, um, it's true. Like it's actually true. It sounds crazy, but it's true. And so this was this embedded program inside of my brain somewhere. And had I not been doing the work that I'd been doing, that would never have come into my awareness. So I encourage you to keep digging into your own psyche, into how you work, and keep developing these levels of awareness so that these programs that are operating inside of your brain, they can come to the surface to be revealed and released. And so then you can move on and become a better, no, not even better, just a more expansive version of yourself, and really live your life to the full. So let me ask you, do you really want to be rich? That's a question only you can answer. Okay, I've prepared an exercise for you today to start to think about this question, you know? So let's say that you had all of the money in the world right now. I want you to think about, what does your life look like? How do you spend your time? And what dreams are you making come true? Now, I really encourage you to pause the video here and come back when you're finished, and give yourself the time and space to contemplate this question. Really brainstorm it out, map it out. Allow nothing to be a limitation, not your age, not your gender, not your sex, not how much money you do or don't have in the bank. Nothing should be a limitation. Just simply allow your that quiet voice within you that wants the best for you, let that voice be the voice that speaks and guides you through this exercise. And let me know. um, Send me a message and let me know what comes up for you. I'd really love to hear. So in chapter 1, contemplating this exercise that you've just done or that you will do, Wattles says, whenever there is an unexpected possibility or a function not performed, there is an unsatisfied desire. And desire is possibility seeking expression or function seeking performance. Now, I would really encourage you to print out that screen, do whatever to make sure that that's front and center for you, and take some time to digest it. How does this relate for you? When I read this, it brought me back to a time in my life. It was sort of in my 20s, and I had this friend who had taken me out, and we went to some person's house who had a whole music studio set up in their place. And I was invited to sing, to get up to the microphone and sing. And I really wanted to sing. I really wanted to get up there and have some fun and sing. But I was so afraid of being humiliated, and I was so afraid of um, being so open and vulnerable in that kind of situation, and that's just me, that's the makeup of me, that I declined the offer to sing. You know what, I really regretted that. Like, it seems so insignificant, so what whether you sing or you don't, but I really wanted to sing, and I would not allow myself to make a fool of myself, and so I didn't sing, and I regretted that. And I never got that chance again. I want you to consider and look in your life. Are there things that you really want to do right now? And that same voice of fear that spoke to me, that denied me, that abandoned me, that stopped me from doing what I wanted, is that voice, or is there some aspect active in you that's doing that to you right now, that's causing you to have these feelings of regret or disappointment or frustration or exasperation that you just cannot get past, and leaving the things that you desire to continue to be unsatisfied? If desire is a possibility seeking expression, then you have to know that if you have the desire to do something, to be something, to go somewhere, to have something, then you have to know that the mere fact that you have this desire means that you can have it and that you can create it. So let's go back to your goal. And this sets up the foundation for your thinking and the foundation for your desire. Did you set a goal that you truly desire? Let's start there. Did you set a goal that was something that is possible and has been seeking expression through you, but that maybe you've been denying or suppressing or ignoring or avoiding? And could you use the next 7 weeks to breathe life into that desire, to nurture it, to cultivate it, and to see what some time, some intention, and some love in that area could actually produce for you? I'll leave you with that. So, chapter 1 of Wattles' book sets up the foundation for your thinking that if you want to be rich, you're in the right place and studying the right thing, which is the science of getting rich. And if you don't want to be rich, there's no point in continuing. And now in chapter 2, Wattles goes on to talk about the excuses that people have for why they can't be rich. Now, in this conversation, he's pretty tame. I mean, given that this book was written in 1910, he does it in a really gentle way. But he's looking to help the reader understand that all of the things that we desire require money to make them happen. So whether that's we need other people involved, whether we need to purchase subscriptions or materials, and all of that stuff requires some investment, some resource, right? And if we want to be able to express ourselves to the fullest, then we need money to help us achieve our goals. And he goes on to say that once we get into the flow of money, we can have more money to do more things. And Wattles goes to some length to help us start to address and remove some of these excuses that we might have, again, for why we can't be rich. And he does that so that the reader can confront themselves. And so you really back to the question of, do you really want to be rich? Or are you just pretending? And he ends the chapter letting us know that no matter where we're starting from, we have the opportunity to do things in a certain way. And if we continue to employ this certain way that he speaks of, then there's no way we can't get rich. That's a pretty amazing promise, don't you think? That so long as we are, no matter where we're starting from, so long as we're doing things in a certain way, then there's no reason why we couldn't get rich. Wow. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm really excited about the possibility of exploring that. So I'm going to encourage you to be curious in this endeavor and to explore the possibility and the truth of this book as you study it. Now, what really came to life for me this week was when you read a book versus when you live a book, they're two totally different experiences. So my invitation for you, if you haven't jumped in fully yet to this program, is to start to live the text. So read it as often as it requires for you to really fully engage and start to become vigilant about your mindset, etc. Now, when you're living this text, it will be a totally different experience from just reading it. Okay, so that's the invitation for you. And it's a gift, it's an inherent gift. Here's what we're going to set up. You have the book, you have this mini series as a resource. Um, you have the ability to play out and to see what's possible for you. So if you doubt any part of what Wattles is saying, but you continue to take the action and you continue to show up, you might just be surprised at what goes on. I'll leave you with that, folks. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week in this video series as we dive into chapters 3 and 4. This video was proudly sponsored by She Leadership, turning passionate women into powerful leaders, and the And Her Name podcast, which is a podcast out to redefine leadership. You can check out the links below for more information, and I'll see you next week.